Steve. That's we're live, by the way.
All right, well,
Welcome,
what's going
y'all.
on, everyone? Welcome to the Casual MMA podcast. My name's Chase, and basically, all we are a bunch of dudes that like MMA, and we're going to talk about it. So, Matt,
Well, I figured for the first one, since we're all new, let's go over personal preferences, personal stuff. So we'll start with Chase, then Pat, then Bishop. Chase, uh, favorite fight and favorite fighter.
dude, my favorite fighter, um, my favorite fighter had to be Stipe, just because the Ohio guy. So, grow to root with the hometown guy,
We
greatest
are all
heavyweight of all
close to
time.
Cleveland.
Yeah, so Stipe is like, big time around here, especially. But my favorite fight of all time, dude, the first one that always comes to mind for me was the second McDonald and Lawler fight.
Was good.
That fight for me, like I feel like that's in everybody's at least top five. But that end of the fourth round, where they just stared each other down in the center of the octagon, just beaten and bloodied up, that moment made that fight over the top for me. But
Just-
that one, and then the Glover and Prohashka, that last light heavyweight title fight between those guys was insane. So
What a-
probably one of those two.
The Lawler fight you were just talking about, just to cut in before we go to Pat. What a time to be a welterweight fan. You had Johnny Hendricks, Lawler, Rory McDonald, and Carlos Condit with the big comeback when he head kicked GSP.
Dude, there were some straight up killers in that division at that time. It was great.
All right, Pat. Favorite fight, favorite fighter.
All right. Favorite fighter. I'm also an Ohio guy. I'm gonna go Stipe as well. I've watched him live, been to a couple UFC events. The one in Cleveland. Flew to Dallas to see him against JDS Part Two. So Stipe is my favorite fighter. Favorite fight. The first one that really pops in my head. Diego Sanchez versus Clay Guida. That's the one.
The
When they
Yes.
went at it. Them two are the intensity them guys bring, man. You got Diego Sanchez, who is just pure intensity. Clay Guida there's no reverse button on either one of them guys. They don't back down from nothing. And the fact that, I think the fact that Guida survived that first round, still, I don't know how he did it. I don't know how Guida survived, but that was just an all out war. Probably the one that comes to mind first is that fight.
Bishop. Favorite fight and favorite fighter.
Hmm.
And you can't say Chase.
Can't say Chase. Okay.
You cannot pick Chase.
Oh, come on.
I mean, I'm probably gonna sound like I'm on the bandwagon here, but I'm gonna go with Stipe as well. Just the Ohio guy. And the only fight that I can really comes to mind right now for me to have it as my favorite fight, Volkanovski and T City.
Dude,
And not just because of the fact that I was there live watching it.
we were there for that.
was-
That was wild.
That was it's just one of the greatest fights I've seen in a long while.
It was a
That
good one.
round 3.
And I feel like
Yeah.
That was a wild.
everybody liked, for that fight at least, everybody liked Volk. Volk was a good dude.
Yeah.
But everyone wanted T City to win that.
Yeah, everybody there was a lot of home crowd people there for T City, and I think if he would have won that stadium, probably would have burnt to the ground that night.
So
I think, like you were saying, Matt, I was rooting for TCA going into that fight. And after that night, after that fight, that's when I became a true Volk fan.
Yeah.
And honestly, because I think all of us, since we all said Stipe, if we're going to number 2 favorite fighter for me, it's Volk.
Yeah.
That dude is just next level.
Yeah.
Volk's good. I like Volk. I have nothing against
Yeah, I
Volk.
like Volk.
But I'm the jiu-jitsu guy, so I wanted the jiu-jitsu guy to win.
Yeah.
Volkanovski reminds me of John Jones, the way he walks into fights.
John Jones walks in at every fight just confident as shit because he's John Jones.
Yes. Yeah. And the same
Right.
thing with Volkanovski. He walks in every fight confident as shit because
He
he is.
He has that attitude, which is you have
Well,
to.
I tell you what he did to Max Holloway in that third fight, that was just that to me, that was this guy is truly for real. I mean, nobody has ever done that to Max Holloway.
No.
And just beat him the way he did. And that was just Volk, my opinion, he's the best fighter in the world. I mean, he's amazing.
Especially going into that fight, I think a lot of people and not to knock Max Holloway, I love Max Holloway, but I think a lot of people put him on this big pedestal. and
Yeah.
he just didn't have he just couldn't do anything. Like it's nothing against Max. It's just Volk's the man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Matt,
he
what's
found
your
the guy.
Yeah.
Matt, what's your favorite fighter in fight? I don't want to skip you over.
Oh no, you're good. I was gonna get to it. No, 'cause my favorite fight, you guys all know, I'm a Diaz brothers fan. I love
Yeah.
Nick and Nate.
Mhm.
Favorite fight, I'll throw you guys two.
All right.
My first one, Anthony Pettis versus Benson Henderson for the title
Okay.
in the
Very
UFC.
good.
That was a really good fight. And then just for the hell of it, my second favorite fight, just because of the build-up, Kimbo Slice versus Dada 5000. do you guys remember the build-up to that? It was awesome.
Dude, that was oh yeah, I forgot about that. I ain't gonna lie.
Best
I did
That
too.
fight,
that fight. That'll be my next question going into it for the three of you guys. That fight or Kale Sonnen versus Tito had the best build-up.
Dude. Sonnen versus Tito brought one of the maybe the greatest trash talk line in the history of sports. Period.
Ooh, yeah.
We all know what I'm
I don't
talking
know.
about.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to talk the build up though?
I know where
I
you're
don't
going,
know.
Pat. I know where you're going. You're going
No,
McGregor
you
Aldo.
might not. No, that was a build up, but
That was good.
Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz won.
Yeah.
That build up because you had Chuck, Merck, and everyone.
Okay.
In all due respect, Tito was running from him. Tito wanted nothing to do against him. And when they finally got in there, that build up to that fight was huge. It was epic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was huge.
That was good. And just because, I'm obviously biased being a Nick Diaz fan. Nick Diaz versus George St. Pierre, only because of it. And I love him to death.
Oh, yeah, that was
but,
good.
Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz say some of the most weird shit. Like, it's because, I love him to death, bro. I love him. But, what are wolf tickets? And then when he was somebody was like, what are wolf tickets? And he was like, hey, you know, man, like I'm out here, and George is out here, and I'm out here.
Where you at, George?
We all out here.
Yeah, he just says
Where you at, George?
both of them just say wild shit. Like I would hate. I think it was Tommy Tohold had a joke about what if Nick Diaz worked at Best Buy? Like, hey, where are the CDs? You know where the CDs are at, homie? They're out here. Like, eat your vegetables, dog. Get the produce. But yeah, the Kimbo Slice Dada 5000, the build up, because it was stupid. It was dumb. And then the fight didn't deliver. Like, it was just terrible.
And they almost died in the octagon.
I think he had 2 heart attacks, right?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, RIP. The GOAT, Kimbo, like a street fight GOAT, but
Nah, he's a UFC GOAT, let's be real.
Listen,
hey man,
the world went to shit when him and Harambe went down.
Exactly.
That's where it all went downhill.
That's what I'm saying.
The world also exploded when he signed with the UFC. Because my dad, who had no idea what the UFC was, came in my room one day and said, "Hey man, you know Kimbo Slice, that guy we watched on doing the backyard fights? He's in the UFC now. It's all over the news."
Lost to Roy Nelson in the first round of the Ultimate
You know what?
Fighter.
Yeah.
It did bring, for what it's worth, he brought a new audience to the UFC.
Well, that's what I was just about to say.
Absolutely.
We'll
He
start.
really did.
We'll start with Bishop this time. Bishop, what was your first fight that you watched?
My first fight that I watched, I caught it on Spike TV a very long time ago. It was Brock Lesnar. I forgot who he fought, but I know I've told you guys this a couple times. Is when he Superman punched that guy, made him do a backflip.
Keith Haring.
That was the first fight I ever watched. And I kind of fell in love with the UFC as soon as I watched one of my favorite WWE superstars punch a guy square in the face and do a backflip.
He broke his orbital bone. His eye. That? Actually ended his career.
Yeah. That dude was not feeling too good after that. I mean, I just seen that. Like I've heard, like, like I was a kid, of course, like I heard like wrestling's fake and yada yada yada, but I knew that Brock Lesnar was like an actual wrestler. Like he was, one of the top dogs in like college wrestling. And then he transitioned over to that, so I was like, oh, I wonder if he could, like, how hard he could punch a guy. And I definitely found out my question when I seen him knock that dude backwards.
He's
remember,
freak.
He's a Viking.
Yes.
Remember, Joe Rogan said it best. Because in the past, the only way you saw a guy like this is if he came up on your shore in a boat and you ran.
That's what Pat said
He
this
is
morning.
For real. So,
50,000 Brock Lesnar's invading. You run.
Yeah.
Pat, what was your first fight? First fight you witnessed?
I don't know, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna tell you how I got introduced. Young kid flipping through the channels. Remember when Pride FC was still a thing, and they had the rerun show with Frank Trigg, and I forget who the other guy was, but that's how I got introduced. Watching clips of old Pride fights, I'm going, man, what is this? Look at these guys. I mean, I've always knew what boxing was, but this wasn't boxing. So I was watching old clips of Pride, and from there, I just fell in love with it. I don't honestly remember what the first fight was. I don't know who they were, but it was in Japan, and it was just completely different than anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where I found out the sport of MMA, and then naturally started watching the UFC, and this is where we're at, man. Now I'm a diehard.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this one out there, and I've been watching UFC almost all my life. Well, MMA almost all my life. The first time I was introduced to it, my dad rented one of the UFCs, and the main event was Tank Abbott.
Abbott.
That was my
That's
first
old
fight,
school.
man.
That's going old school right
Going
there.
back.
My dad lived in a trailer, and we had a VCR, and he was like, "Hey, I got this," and then popped it in, and it was just this big, unathletic looking dude, and I was like,
Yeah, dude.
I could do that.
I could do that.
Yeah,
do that
I could
shit.
that.
I went to one boxing
Center
class,
blocks in
got
his hands.
punched in the nose, and I was like, I'm gonna do jujitsu.
Dude,
Yeah.
I've seen that so many times. It's everybody, like Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan if they get punched in the mouth.
That dude, I ducked. He threw an
Absolutely.
uppercut, and I was like, I'm gonna go roll around.
It's like that guy
Dude.
that walked into the boxing
I
gym
did that
and
against
knows how
Tyler
to
Wilson.
fight because of
Yeah, exactly.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I think that's who did it. Actually, speaking of him, he's the one that he broke my nose, and then the camera can't see it, but like my finger's all bent.
Oh, I can see
Yeah, I
that.
see that.
Yeah, it got stuck. We used to do these MMA fights at East Middle School close to where we are.
Oh, the good old days.
And my finger got stuck
Fight Club.
in Danny's glove, and Danny rolled away, and my finger went with him. And ever since then, it's just
Oh, I wasn't there for that one.
no, it was bad.
Dude.
No, that was Fight
Chase,
Club.
Chase
That was-
first fight,
Dude, it's first fight.
first
I
fight you
remember-
seen, because the first fight you lost, I was there.
Never lost, man.
0-6.
Yeah.
No, I think I remember it was kind of like how Pat said, like, I saw a clip. The first clip I remember seeing, which is iconic, was Fry and Takayama.
Oh yeah.
Just going in the clinch
Oh.
throwing bombs.
That's
And
a
then-
war.
The first full fight that I remember watching, see, I would have been like 11 or 12 at the time, was when Silva front kicked Vitor in the face.
I was at
That
BW,
was
I
like-
was
yeah.
at PW3s for that.
Mhm.
That was the one that I remember watching the most. And then when I started boxing is when I really started getting into MMA more. So like even when I was boxing, I never really watched boxing. Like I'm not that much of a fan of the sport. I'm more of an MMA fan.
Yeah.
So but that's like the first fight that I remember watching, sitting down. I'm like sitting there drooling watching this. I'm like, this is great. So
that was gonna
and
be my,
ever
Yeah.
that was it.
yeah, that was gonna be my next question too for all of us, and I'll answer first this time. MMA being is it your favorite sport? It's like I can't say MMA is my favorite sport. I love football. Like I watch football from Sunday afternoon till fucking Monday night. Sometimes UFC
Yeah.
events and MMA events
Right.
too can kind of be meh. I can miss this fight. I can miss that fight. I don't miss a Sunday football game. So what Chase was saying with like, even though he did box, but he wasn't a boxing fan. I've tried, dude. I've tried to watch boxing. I can't do it. It's one, it's too late. Two, it's too boring.
Yeah, no, it's not always a fan friendly sport, and it's kind of like well, people who play soccer will watch soccer. People who
Yeah.
play baseball will watch baseball. Boxing, like yeah, there are fights that are all-time classics. Like go back, watch Hagler Hearns, watch the Mickey Ward versus
Yeah.
Arturo Gotti fights, stuff like that. That's fan friendly, like scenes out of a movie. But boxing it's a technical sport, and they always say the sweet science. You're setting things up, and you can't rush into anything. You have 12 rounds to work, so they use that 12 rounds.
Yeah.
So
So
that
back to the question,
makes
would you say?
boxing.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. So that
Back,
makes boxing not always fan friendly.
yeah. I mean, and UFC gets that way sometimes. Sometimes it's boring fights that are supposed to be good. Ngannou, Lewis. But
Yep.
with the
Yeah.
question being, would you say
Roses
MMA is
strike
your
blades.
yeah? Would you say MMA
Yeah.
is your favorite sport?
Yeah, I would say MMA is my favorite sport, no doubt. Like I watch football. I used to be a huge Browns fan. Like I mean, everybody that knows me knows that. But this past season, I think I watched like 3 games. Like I just don't get into it like I used to. I watch I watch
Yeah.
pretty much every mixed martial arts event that's on.
Yeah, I try to catch
So
all. Pat, would you say MMA is your favorite?
As of today, yes, I would say yeah. I mean, growing up, it was football. I mean, Saturday college football, NFL Sunday football. I mean, I love football. I still love football, but the game has changed. I mean, all sports have changed, but especially football. And for me,
yeah,
as of today, MMA is definitely, I would say, my favorite sport. We're talking about. I'm gonna add on what Chase said. Yeah, there's or even you said, Matt. There's boring boxing matches and stuff. But in my personal opinion, there is nothing like a big time fight. You get a John Jones in there, you get a Volkanovski, a Stipe,
McGregor.
a Conor McGregor
That's what I
fight.
say because I think
There is nothing.
it,
Go ahead.
it, it was awesome when Connor fought McGregor because you're a huge Connor fan, and when we met up at your
Huge.
house to watch the Poirier fight, I feel like
Mhm.
that's the coolest part about MMA is like
Oh yeah.
we
Yeah,
all came to your house to watch this one fight.
Yeah.
And it was like a big event too.
Exactly, yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
people get hyped for the Super Bowl, but then like you have like a big fight that like feels like the Super Bowl, but like constantly, if that makes sense.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're
I
saying.
tell you what though, being there though, when you're there live, and that especially your favorite fighter or one of your favorite fighters, and that main event hits, there's nothing like a big time fight.
Yeah.
There's nothing. And
I'm the only one that hasn't
in
been
any
to a live
sport,
event.
boxing or MMA.
Dude, we gotta
Oh,
go.
it's amazing.
Hey,
Mhm.
just throwing it out there. May 13th. I know it's a fight night in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a close drive for us. Rosenstrike's headline in the co-main event was Johnny Walker, Anthony Smith. So I might
That's-
make
that's
the drive
actually-
down to go to that.
Yeah, I would say that's actually a really good fight to make for the light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Bishop, I think
Yeah.
you're the only one that didn't answer. Is MMA your favorite sport?
I would have to say so. I mean, growing up, like I wasn't always like big into sports. Like, yeah, I had like a love for like watching baseball and stuff like that. But when it came to like football, that was just something like me and my dad kind of shared. And like I didn't grow up playing like I grew up playing NFL Blitz, not Madden, and I grew up playing like
Yeah, like the
NBA
cartoon
Street
one.
Volume 2.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I grew up playing like NBA
Yeah,
Street and
dog.
stuff like that. That was my jam. Like I couldn't do like the like the regular games because they bored me and I wasn't really into it. But I mean, I still watch baseball here and there. I love baseball, and I
Yeah.
mean, but as of right now, I would have to say yes that MMA is one of my favorite sports. I mean, if you
Yeah.
count like rally racing and stuff like that as a sport, which I mean, it's
Yeah.
like a motor sport.
Yeah, I'd say it's a sport.
Besides that, MMA is up there.
Talking about rally racing, I'm the one with
Basketball.
PBRs.
I was gonna say, here's the best part about being married. I just texted my wife to bring me 2 beers. Who knows if it'll happen?
She
but
listened?
It might. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's stuck on the
Dude,
liver.
if 2 beer cans hit your head, I'm all
Yeah.
Wait, but before we move on, real quick, I want to piggyback off to one thing Pat said was being there live. I will say this:
Oh.
a live UFC event is by far the best live sporting event that I've ever been to.
Mm.
Been to big college football games, NFL games, baseball, all those things.
Like
But the energy. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
No, go ahead.
So the energy of a big time UFC fight or event
Yes.
it's really honestly it really is unmatched. Like me and Brian, we were at the Volk Ortega fight. I got to go to the Chandler versus Oliveira fight, and the Whitaker versus Adesanya too. And all those fights, like the crowd, the energy from the time you sit down from the prelims to the main event, that whole like 5 hour stretch, people are yelling, they're off their seats, they're excited the entire time, like, and it's just a different atmosphere than like a football game is. Like, so for
is.
anybody that hasn't been to a live like UFC or MMA event, highly encourage you to go because it really is in a league of its own.
I was just
Go
going
ahead,
to say,
Brian.
Yeah, dude. Like, go ahead, Brian.
What I was gonna say is like I'm a big Notre Dame fan, and I went for the first time with my
Irish.
dad. I think back in I want to say somewhere around like 2012, 2013, and I can't remember what the first game was, but we went like I'd say about 5 or 6 times. I think the first game was against Pitt. That game was cool, and like I think like for me like the biggest part about that was just like the whole atmosphere of not just the game itself, but seeing like the whole entire campus, like a place that I've seen in like like mimicked in like the NCAA games those are like the one like main like football games used to play with NCAA because
They're
they're
better
just
than
better.
Madden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were.
So like seeing it like somewhat mimicked in that and seeing Touchdown Jesus in person and just seeing like the campus and like being in that atmosphere was awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
But the biggest game that I was at, I think, was Notre Dame versus Michigan.
2015.
Yep. And
I
that
remember that.
was one of the greatest days of my life because my brother is like what he was a huge Michigan fan. He's a Georgian bandwagoner now.
Yeah. How does that work?
I don't know.
it's called
But-
transfanerism.
Yeah. But that game,
Please don't
like
cancel
the whole like what 6 hour drive it is 6.5 hours?
37-0. I
Yeah,
remember.
the whole time he was just talking crap. So like when I seen the scoreboard go 37-0, and the game was done, that was like an amazing feeling. The whole atmosphere was awesome. But when I went and seen a UFC fight in person, and it had like nothing to do with like the main event because the main event was big. When Nick Diaz showed up, and
Diaz
like
versus Lawler. Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
besides that fight, just being there and watching all like the prelims and everything was like a whole different atmosphere, and it was amazing. But just like hearing the crowd go nuts, including myself, because I've always wanted to see Nick Diaz in person, so I love Nick Diaz.
Me too.
That was like unmatched for me. Like even to being a Notre Dame and going and seeing like the equipment room and like watching them stomp Michigan, which was like the sweet feeling. Being there and then listening to the crowd go insane for Nick Diaz was like unmatched. It's a top tier feeling.
You get goosebumps during the walkouts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what
Oh
that's
man,
just
it's like
you know that
I'm not the type of person to get like animated watching like football or anything like that. But like, I mean, I was like getting hyped, just like the crowd just kind of like just puts like a energy into you. You just
that's
You're
what-
off your
start going
seat for
on.
a fight.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
so
like
you-
the Ortega
Yeah.
fight. I was screaming.
Do you know that feeling like your football team's you're down by one or you're up by one, but the other team's gonna kick a field goal, and you get that feeling in your gut? I
Yeah.
get that all day
Yeah.
fight day, especially if a Diaz brother's
that's
fighting.
actually-
dude,
you
I
know
get
what?
like,
Dude.
ooh,
You get that every
That's a
time. the
great-
Ortegas.
Comparison. That's a spot on comparison.
I got the perfect example of that.
All right.
UFC 203 in Cleveland when Stipe fought Overeem. When
Oh, yeah.
Overeem landed that shot and dropped Stipe.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the whole, I mean, just literally my gut. It was just everything dropped. My jaw dropped. I felt like, oh my
Your
God, that's
heart
it.
sank. Yeah.
But when he got back up and he knocked Overeem out, I mean, that was unreal. I can't explain that atmosphere. I just can't.
if you go back and you watch Miocic and Ngannou 2, he rocked Francis. What if he
Dude.
wouldn't have? What if he wouldn't have rushed? What if he would have took
I
his
think,
time?
to be honest with you, I think he'd have survived that round.
Well,
But
that's
we can speculate all we want, but
Yeah,
he got knocked out.
that
But
feeling
I
that you're
think he
talking
survives
about.
that round. I think he survives that round. He beats him. I really do.
Look,
I think Donnie was
we're-
tired.
We're cutting in some deep wounds here because that fight pains me to watch every time.
Oh yeah.
I just rewatched it.
Ngannou's eyes, like you could see it in his eyes. He got hurt. He got wobbled. Stipe rushed in and got caught. Because even when
Yeah.
Ngannou's hurt, he has ungodly power in his hands.
I mean,
Dynamite.
he's got like Atlas
And-
stones for hands.
For seriously, and before that, Stipe ate bombs before he got knocked out. Any other heavyweight on the planet would have been knocked out prior to that.
person.
Yeah, I mean,
He
he's
was just taking shot after shot after shot, and then I mean,
Dude.
if I'm remembering right, they did say that taking a full power punch from Ngannou's like getting hit 35 miles an hour by a Ford Fiesta.
Yeah.
Ford-
So
Ford
he
Escort.
Ford Escort.
You
So
wanna
he
talk about-
basically
you
got
wanna
hit
talk
by a
about a
Ford
build-up?
Escort a bunch of times.
What about
wanna talk about a build-up to a fight?
Jackass?
Mm.
He
Oh.
fucking nut shot somebody like no.
Aaron. All right.
Oh.
Aaron
Yeah.
Aaron is the hero of Jackass because he got all like the worst pranks and stunts. He got the
that
worst of
was
it all.
terrible.
Without him, that movie would have been nothing. At least like the fourth one.
I feel you.
So hats off to
Yeah.
you, Aaron, if you ever see this, which you won't.
Hey, 2 beers. Thanks, babe.
Hey,
There's the
shit,
MVP.
Chuck
Round of
about you?
applause. Round of applause here.
The dog tried to break in. Thanks.
But,
Uh,
all right, brother Matt. Let's go back on topic. What do you got for us, man?
Yeah.
I have another one. So that was it. My last question before we get into if you guys have questions or not. We were just talking about that feeling, that gut feeling.
Oh,
What's everyone's favorite? We'll start with Pat. That favorite that like it could go bad, but then it like ends up working itself out. That favorite, like,
Well,
as soon as the fight ends, like pressure off your shoulders, like fuck, okay.
my favorite, honest to God, is when Stipe beat Ngannou the first time. When he beat him the first fight, he broke the record for the heavyweight division. I mean, that whole build up. You want to talk about a build up to a fight? That build up was pure. It was pure. It was pure UFC backing Ngannou. This was their guy.
Oh, yeah.
This was,
Oh yeah.
he was the once in a lifetime, once in a million. He was their guy, and for Stipe to survive that, I'm not gonna lie. There was a couple times in that fight I thought it was over. I thought when Ngannou landed, I'm going, that's it. But when that fight ended, that was like, wow, he did it. He did it. That was huge. Yeah, that was probably, or I'd say when he got up against Overeem, being there live, because I thought Overeem knocked him out.
I thought
When Overeem landed that shot, I thought it was over.
yeah,
Yeah.
if we're gonna go off Stipe moments that made me feel that way, when he beat DC.
Yeah,
The second
Like,
one, the second fight.
one,
That
the
when he
body
started throwing those
shots.
body shots, I
Yeah.
was jumping up and down.
I tell you what, man. Honest to God, you want to talk about that feeling, not relief, but almost like unbelievable. You called it, but I didn't believe it. I mean, if you would have told me Nate Diaz was going to beat Conor McGregor the first time, I'd have told you you're nuts.
That's my
I'd have told
moment.
you
Hey.
you're crazy.
That's my moment when he
I'd have
sunk in
said
that rear
there's no
naked.
way.
That
Hang on,
Diaz
if we're-
Connor or Diaz Ferguson, when he submitted Ferguson, it was the same exact feeling. Like, and I don't want to be nasty about it, but like, you're all sports fans. Like, your fucking stomach's in knots. You gotta take a shit. You're like, I can't miss this
Yeah.
fucking fight, dude. As soon as he submitted Connor, it was like the Lord came
couldn't
down. It
believe
was
it.
like,
Couldn't believe it.
calm down, Matt. It's fine.
Yep,
Hey-
dude. If we're talking about, all right. So side note, when you say like you gotta go to the bathroom. Side note, whenever I get nervous, I get gassy. So whenever I play baseball, every time I go up to bat, I get crop dust in the catcher. So,
Has nothing to do with
Stuck up
MMA,
my
but
house
sure.
one time.
but anyway, talk about
You stuck up
moments
my
where
house.
moments where you called it. You all three know. I called it from the jump. Put money on it. When Pena beat
Yeah.
Nunes the first fight.
Yeah, that was huge.
Call that. I was like,
huge.
I just had that feeling it's gonna happen. And
I
sure enough,
I'm pretty sure I was the first person to be like, "You're a fucking idiot."
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
stupid.
If you were first, I was a very close second.
Yeah,
because
and-
I was like, "There's no way."
and I told you guys, I'm like, I don't know why. I said, I have that gut feeling that it's
She fought
gonna
the perfect
happen.
fight.
And she drug Nunes into a brawl.
Yep.
And
Bishop, favorite MMA moment. Favorite.
I really don't know if I have an answer for this one because it seems like anytime the main card comes on, my heart is just like beating. Like even if it's like a fighter, like I really don't care about, my heart is just beating and beating and beating, and like my anxiety is like so high because like it could go any way. It's just like one of those things. So I'm not sure if I have an answer for that. I mean, I guess like I could throw out like what was that third round? Ortega almost choked out Volkanovski.
As I said, you bring that
That
up
was
quite a bit.
huge.
yeah, like that's got to be up there.
'Cause, I mean, like honestly, like
Oh,
for
that was
me,
massive.
that was like the moment I was like, oh my god, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. And then when
Yeah,
I
like-
watched, I mean, like we weren't like far away, but we could
Little
like
fucking
we were
Austrian
like
juggernaut.
Bro,
at
we
a
could see
pretty
his
good
head turn
distance.
purple.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
watched his head go from tan to red to white to purple, and I'm like, this guy is dead. He
Anybody
has
else
to
would've
be
tapped.
dead.
A
in
horse of a different color.
like
Well-
this dude's having like death convulsions in there. That's all. That's all that's happening. Really, even when he got up, I didn't believe it. I just thought it was
It's
like the
Any-
adrenaline that was in his body when he was alive, just pumping him, and he was just still going. And at the end of the fight, he was gonna be pronounced dead or something like that. That I think I'd have to say that would be my moment of like gut wrenching or
I will
Oof
say
moment.
this: if we're talking about like, and I talk, well, Pat talks about this a lot, but I'm gonna piggyback off of what he always talks about. If we're gonna go off like feelings, I always get sad when I think of like recent Tony Ferguson.
yes.
Dude, I
Yeah.
swear to God, I was just
Like,
about to
I-
say that.
My heart
Yeah.
like hurts.
I really was.
Hmm.
When he fought Gaethje, that was the one time I can honestly say I
Oh
was
my
begging
God.
the referee to stop the fight
that
because he
was a
should have
beat
killed him.
down.
Dude,
Justin Gaethje should have killed him.
and it's Justin Gaethje. We gotta remember, Justin Gaethje hits fucking hard. Like,
Yeah.
even in his last fight, he hits hard. You can't take.
Yes.
Ferguson took some of those shots, and if I was the ref, I probably would have stepped up like, "Hey man, you can't take any more of those." Like, I would
No.
call
No.
this because it was going into the last round. Because Ferguson landed that uppercut, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, here we go!" Like
At the end of the
he's here
second
now.
round, I think.
Yeah, at
he
the end of
punched
the
an
second.
uppercut.
But then Gaethje just new Gaethje. This cold,
Gaethje recovered.
calculated Gaethje's scary.
Dude, that left hook he throws is just insane. But talking about like the ref stopping it, I think it's time to, dude. I know he's a lot of people's favorites. I think it's time to start saying that Herb Dean is overrated.
Yeah.
No,
You
only
just gonna
because
throw out a
I don't-
hot
I don't
take?
know that anyone better.
Yeah, that's my hot take, dude. Herb Dean is not that good of a ref. He's not.
The problem is I can't name you a better one. The only
Yeah.
one who's the guy with they make him tuck his beard in.
Oh,
I can't remember his
um,
name.
dude, I used to know his
Dan
name.
Murgliata is better than Herb Dean.
Dan has his
No.
thing though. He stops fights too early. He
Oh,
stops fights before
sometimes-
guys like tap.
Sometimes he'll let him go.
Sometimes, yeah, well, sometimes that's a bad thing too.
Dude, would you
Yeah.
remember Czech Congo versus Pat Barry? Dan Murgliata let that go.
He did,
Yeah.
and then, dude, if I was Pat Barry, I'd be so mad. How did I knock this man out
Mike
twice?
Beltran. Mike Beltran.
Mike Beltran, yeah.
Mike
Yeah, Mike
Beltran, yeah.
Beltran, yeah.
That's my dude.
He is
Mark
a top
Goddard's a
tier
good
ref.
one too.
Yeah, I like
Mark
Mark
Goddard's
Goddard.
alright.
I say Mark is better than Herb.
Oh, who's the other guy that's always smoking?
Oh, he's smoking.
You're not allowed
What?
to smoke in there.
Nate Diaz?
No,
He's
no,
smoking
no,
the
no,
18
no,
one?
no, no.
Nate's not a ref.
No, the dude that's always on Twitter and he's taking smoke breaks in between fights.
Oh, I have no idea who you're talking about.
I don't know who that is.
He's always got.
Her- Jason Herzog is a pretty good one too.
Yeah.
For the most
It's-
part.
It's the one dude who's always got on like a long sleeve T-shirt. He's got like neck tats you can kind of see, and he sounds like he
sure.
talks
I know
about.
who you're talking
Oh,
about.
hang on.
he's-
Keith Peterson. Keith
Yeah,
Peterson.
yeah, dude. Keith Peterson's.
He
looks like a
he's
hobbit.
goat. Yeah, dude, he's a goat. I don't care what anyone says. He's a goat.
So
This
we,
Twitter's funny.
He looks
We-
like an emo Cartman.
Yeah.
I could go on about refs for a while. I don't think refs are a problem, and I'll let you three
The judges are the problem.
tell me.
Well,
The
I-
judges of recent are the problem.
I'll say one more thing about the refs. I can't remember the guy's name. I just remember he kind of looked like a clown because like his nose was like huge and red. But
This whole episode's
Um,
just Bishop explaining to us what the refs look like.
but like this dude,
Pennywise.
this guy was like such a horrible
Exactly.
ref that they literally fired him before the event was over. I
Oh,
forget.
Yamasaki?
No.
Steve
It was an older-
Mazzagatti?
No, it was an older white dude. He did something. And I forget what it was. I'll have to ask my brother because he'll remember.
Oh.
But I think he stopped the fight when like nothing was even happening, and called a guy a winner, and he
Steve
just like
Harvey?
probably
Yeah, Steve.
he like literally fucked up this guy's fight, and that was it for him. He got fired. He got thrown
I'll
out.
have to Google this one. 'cause I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I'm not sure, but I think we can all agree the two worst: Steve Mazzagatti, Mario Yamasaki.
Yes.
Yeah,
Two
Mario.
worst.
I'm not a big Mario fan.
So-
I miss Big John McCarthy.
Big John is
Big
the
John,
best. Man.
yeah,
Yeah,
I love Big
I mean
John.
he
Legend,
rewrote the
bro.
rule book.
Salute to Big John.
Yeah.
But
Hats
like
off
the
to Big
thing
John.
with refs though is like people complain about refs sometimes. I mean there's horrible ones like the ones we've mentioned.
Sometimes it happens, like to the best of them. Like
Yeah.
the bad
Yeah.
calls happen.
Like,
But
I mean,
Ben
Herb
Askren,
Dean,
Robbie Lawler.
Herb Dean's
Yeah.
made some pretty fucked
Yeah.
up calls sometimes, but I mean, I don't know. Sometimes the situation looks worse to them than what's actually going on.
And
on the
that's another
ground.
thing is like for us, like we're not the ones in there seeing what they see. So yeah, we can
Yeah.
call them bad, but at the same time, like I gotta,
Yeah.
be realistic here. Is like we're
mean,
seeing different things. So
It's
I
like
mean,
refs when we watch
You're seeing
football.
completely different things.
Yeah, well, that's
We're
the thing,
actually
too.
seeing, to be honest with you, the camera, we actually might be seeing better than what
True.
they are even seeing.
Yeah,
Same
Very
with
true.
the judges, same
Very
with
true.
the analysts, with Rogan and DC and all them guys. With our camera views, we're actually probably seeing more than what they're seeing.
Especially when they're up
absolutely.
against the cage, like sometimes like we got like
Right.
that like on the ground floor view of like the cage looking in,
Mhm.
and like they're like over their back, like looking down, like, "Hey man, what's going on down? Are you asleep? You awake? What's going on?
Why are you sleeping?
You sleeping?
Why are you sleeping?"
That's I kind of like PFL's ref cam. I
Yeah,
think
that's
the
pretty
UFC should
sweet.
adopt that. That's pretty awesome.
That
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
But-
like,
First time I saw it, it was there was a guy who looked like a juiced out
You
Ric
listening,
Flair as
Dana?
the ref.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, take notes, Dana.
yeah. Also, fly us out to every event.
Yeah, please,
yes.
please.
And get Chase on the PBR.
We'll
Those
we'll
are
all
those
do,
are our demands.
Yeah.
We'll all do the
PBR.
fucking Fridays with you, no matter how
Sponsor.
stupid they are.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
His
That's
one,
it.
which I know he gets a lot of flack. I love Dana White. Like
Yeah.
he gets a lot of shit from like
Modern day
I-
Vince McMahon.
dude. I love
Dude,
Dana White. Dana White's awesome.
he's not gonna BS you. Like whatever he's doing, like he's gonna do it,
Yeah.
and he's not sugarcoating anything.
Well, here's
so.
the thing. If you look at it, Lewis versus Ngannou, that's two large, strong men that could kill you, and he sat there with
Yeah.
a straight face like that shit sucked. They suck. It's like what?
Mhm.
You can't
Well,
just say
even-
that. He's like, yeah, they suck.
And
Yeah.
that's what I give Joe Rogan credit for too. Joe Rogan will, if it's a bad fight, he'll call it out right in the middle of the fight. Like, "Nah, this ain't good."
Well,
Yeah.
what was it?
Joe Rogan
Rose
is not
and
afraid.
Rose and
Rose and
Carlos
striking blood.
Barza.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Rose and Carlos Barza. I mean, Joe Rogan was like, neither. He goes, "This should just vacate the belt."
Yeah. Dude,
I think
My-
I think he
Ro-
said that. Don't quote me on that, but I think he
When you're
said
real with
that.
the fans, they appreciate it more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how about
absolutely.
do you guys
I'd
remember?
rather. Oh, go
What's
ahead.
up, Bish?
Do you
What's
guys
up,
remember
Bish?
the ice incident? When
The what?
Oh yeah.
What
Yeah.
fight was that?
I can't remember. They dropped it. They dropped a
Dude,
bunch of ice in the ring,
of
and Joe
ice?
Rogan was like, "Look at these
There's
fucking
still ice in
idiots."
there.
These fucking
Yeah.
idiots. Like losing his mind, like hot. Like it was before the Joe Rogan experience. It was a while ago, but yeah, they dropped a bunch of ice in the ring.
All
right,
I love Joe
hang on.
Rogan.
He did a play by. He was all right. UFC 109,
Wow,
2010.
that's going back.
So UFC 109. I'm looking up the fight card.
Junior in high school.
That's what to say.
Or no, senior. I was a senior, man.
But it was
Wow,
Randy
man.
Couture versus Mark Coleman. That was the main event on that card.
How long
Wow, who
was
won?
that? Yeah.
2010.
That was a close fight.
Randy Couture tapped him out. But dude, I was 11 years old in that.
Yeah, I was in fourth
That was a
grade. when
close
that
fight.
I don't think.
happened. Or sixth grade, sorry.
That was the shitty thing, especially. I mean, all of you guys know this. The crappy thing about being an MMA fan so young, like I wasn't allowed to stay
That's
awake.
it.
Yeah.
Like
No.
not even like WrestleMania and stuff. My mom's like, "Hey, it's 10 o'clock." I'd be like, "Okay, the Undertaker's walking out right now." And she's like, "Yeah,
That
that's
was
I
fine.
need to watch this.
You need to go upstairs
Those-
to go to sleep."
Yeah. Those
Yeah.
days, remember
He'll
getting
be
the
there
blank,
tomorrow.
Yeah.
remember getting the blank VHS tapes and recording your shows on those and having to watch them on that.
Oh
yeah.
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 We used to do that with WrestleMania and WWF.
But we're
Back in the day, boys.
sliding all over the place. But UFC 287. UFC 287
Yeah.
287
Let's
is
get down
this
to business.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Izzy versus Pereira 2. Now,
Ooh.
we're going to talk about the main event. Obviously, we're going to get to that. But I kind of want to we're talk about the featured prelim and lead up to that main event. But the featured prelim, Chris Curtis versus Kelvin Gastelum. Now,
Ooh.
that's a good. Gastelum hasn't fought since 2021. Chris
Been
Curtis,
that
he's been a
long.
little.
Wow, I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
I feel like he just fought like last year.
No, his last
Yeah.
fight was against he lost his last two. He fought Whitaker put on a masterclass against him.
Yeah.
And then he lost to Jared Cannonier. So like he
Oh.
lost to two of the
Two of
like,
the
top
top.
5 middleweights. So Kelvin Gastelum, man, he gave Izzy up until Pereira. Well, I wouldn't even Pereira didn't give him the hardest fight. He caught him. Izzy
Izzy had to fight.
Izzy was winning up until he got caught. And Gastelum gave Izzy by far it's undeniable the toughest fight.
He
of
was
his
the
life.
big he was
put
the
the most
biggest problem.
damage
Right.
Yeah.
So as far as Curtis Gastelum, we're Pat and Bishop and then Matt. Like, what are your guys' takes on this fight?
I want to
So-
add something real quick to your
Go
Adesanya,
ahead.
Gastelum Adesanya. You know this as well as anybody. Styles make fights.
Oh yeah,
That
absolutely,
fight,
100%.
Gastelum was actually was a problem for Adesanya. I think his style and everything. But going to the fight, I think Gastelum gets back on the win column this one. I do. It's hard to bet against him when he's at the top of his game, and he has a solid camp and he's training. Kelvin Gastelum is a hell of a fighter. He's a hell of a fighter.
He is.
I think he gets back in the win column this weekend. I really do. I think he gets it done, and we'll see where he goes from there. I mean, that's my pick. I think he gets it done this weekend.
What do you think, Bish?
I have to say the same. I mean, I've watched Kelvin Gastelum for a while, and it just seems like those fights that he loses, he's not always in it. I mean, that's kind of like how it goes for some people, I guess. But whenever Kelvin Gastelum like comes in, he's ready to bring the heat, and he's just throwing it. I think he'll get it done.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on Bishop because I think when Kelvin Gastelum like 100% shows up, you're in for an ass whooping. Like,
I mean,
It's a
against
problem.
Adesanya, he
Yeah.
100% showed up.
he rocked
I
him.
mean, he fell short, but I mean, like
That's an all-time classic.
You really
Oh, yeah.
can't deny the fact
Yeah.
that Kelvin Gastelum showed up ready to fucking whoop some ass. 'Cause
You-
just like the pictures I keep seeing of Adesanya's face after that fight,
You also
he
have to
put the most damage on him that
Yeah.
he has
Oh
had.
yeah.
and you also have to
I mean,
remember
he didn't even look like Adesanya after the fight.
Izzy
No.
fought a lot
No.
of guys that fought like KG. Kelvin had
Mhm.
never fought a guy that fought like Izzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's,
who
that's
has?
true.
Well, that's
Yeah,
exactly
I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Adesanya's got like.
If you
I
hadn't
mean,
fought
he's a
Anderson
style
Silva, you
bender.
didn't fight anybody.
Yeah.
Like Anderson Silva's the
That's-
closest we have to what
Mhm.
Izzy is, and I'll wait for the main event to give that take. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree with you there.
I think
agree
Kelvin
with you
Gastelum gave him a lot of problems. I thought Kelvin Gastelum had him rocked a couple times. It's just, what are you gonna
Right.
do against a guy? And that was on his rise. Like, he wanted to be champ bad.
there. Yeah.
So you're gonna stop
Oh.
that guy? He looked you right in the eyes and said, "I will die for this."
He said, "I'm prepared to
Mhm.
die."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that.
You
Right,
got
it
it,
was-
buddy.
it was the
'cause
free round.
I'm not.
Great fight.
Now, honestly, we're going to clean sweep here. I think Gastelum gets it done too because, I mean, me and Matt were talking earlier. Gastelum, dude, when he's the one who pushes the pace, when he controls the center of the octagon, he's moving forward, and this is the case for a lot of fighters. Dude, he hits hard. I mean, remember when he knocked out Bisping with that 1-2? That's what me and Matt were talking
Yeah.
about. That's a
That
highlight
was beautiful.
reel knockout. Now Gastelum, he's got a heck of a chin. I mean, I thought Whitaker should have had him finished a bunch of times. He's tough. He's had a layoff. He's healthy, and a full camp. I think he goes in, sticks to the game plan, gets the job done. Because Chris Curtis, I mean, he's a big middleweight. He hits hard, but
Mhm.
he's the type of guy that he thrives in more of a brawling type atmosphere. Because I remember, I don't know if you guys watched when he fought Jack Hermanson.
Mhm.
Hermanson, a lot of leg kicks, worked the body, got him clinched, pushed up against the cage, control him. Nothing fancy, nothing
Same
crazy.
thing will do.
Exactly. So it's like Gaslam, stick to the game plan. Don't get pulled in to a firefight or a brawl. Work your leg kicks. Control the center of the octagon. Get your underhooks. Press him against the cage. Control him. Because Curtis gets frustrated. Because when you're pulling him into your fight, he can't handle it. So I think Gaslam gets it done.
Another good
Can I
thing about
piggyback off of that? real
yeah,
quick?
go ahead, Bishop.
I mean,
Hop on.
it's not anybody that's on this fight card, but we were talking about Justin Gaethje earlier, and when he said someone that thrives in a brawling atmosphere, Justin Gaethje, because when you bring him into your world, like mainly jujitsu, I'd say, he don't know what to do.
Well, if you can get him down, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
if
he,
you-
he,
but
did, he
yeah,
did
that is,
wrestle
if
for a
you
long
can't-
time.
I
Yeah,
know
but if
jujitsu.
you can get him down, yeah. But like, I mean, and if he can wrestle his way out, yeah. But I would have to say, and I don't know if anyone agrees with me, but I'd say Justin Gaethje, and we all know how Justin Gaethje is. I feel like he thrives in a brawling atmosphere.
to go off that,
Yeah.
what you just said, because
But
Gaethje
go ahead,
and
Matt.
Kelvin Gastelum are both guys, and all three of you should be able to attest to this. There's not a lot of fighters that like listen to their corner a lot.
No.
Kelvin Gastelum, when his corner says, "Hey, be first," he's fucking first.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Same with Gaethje.
Kelvin Gastelum's very well rounded. I think
Yeah.
he's.
Oh yeah.
I think when he's at the top of his game, he's more well rounded.
He's
He
a
can
problem.
use
man.
every tool
He's-
against this guy. He can be a very problem. I mean,
Yeah.
is the layoff going to hurt him? I don't think. I honestly, with a guy like Kelvin Gastelum, I don't think it's going to hurt him. I think it's
He's
going to help him.
healthy.
I
He's
think
healthy.
he's finally healthy. Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
That goes into a thing, and then Chase, you can explain this to the rest of us because, like, I'm a jiu-jitsu player. Like, we don't get ring rust. I'm never gonna lose my skill. Boxing wise, though, do you get ring rust? You're just coming off an injury.
Yeah. So what I can say is, so like when I came back from the tear in my labrum, it took me like doing some workouts, getting back into shape is the first thing. But as far as going in, starting sparring again, honestly, it comes back quick because as far as the injury goes, physically you got to recover, but mentally, all that information, like, it's still there. I still know how to fight. I still know what I've trained. So I was able to get back and like to sparring, and it wasn't necessarily. I didn't feel really rusty. It was just making sure that my body was getting back into shape because I was able to pump out a jab, work the fundamentals, and cut off the ring and do all those slip punches, do all those things that I've trained to do for the past, I don't know, like 6-7 years. You don't lose that knowledge. It's just getting your body in shape to do those things because you can know what to do, but if you're tired or you're gassed, your body can't do it in time.
Yeah.
So
Can I add some of that when you're done?
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I've heard multiple fighters talk about this, from Chael Sonnen. I've listened to Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson talk about this. It's different when you're training, you're sparring. You hear guys talking about they've sparred, 25 rounds. They've trained for a 25 round fight, whatever. When you get in there and you're actually facing your opponent,
The adrenaline
your
rush.
energy is completely different. The
It
zap,
is.
it's like
It is
your
different.
energy just zaps far more.
Mhm.
And that's what I wanted that, especially, Chase would know this as well, probably more than any of us. It's when you're training and you're sparring compared to an actual fight, it's different. It's
Mhm.
completely different.
It's a different when you're sparring, there's
it's
no
different
pressure.
energy. No.
Yeah, well, like when you're sparring, there's no
So
pressure on it. When you're like in the actual fight, the nerves are there, but
Mhm.
it's just,
Right.
that's why it's important. That's why it's just, and that's why
Yeah.
I still say like your mindset's the most important thing because if you go in there, you let your emotions run high, and you start going wild, you lose
Well,
control of your breathing,
Ooh.
then you're in for a tough night.
Well, that I was
If
talking
you-
to Pat about that a little, kind of a little bit, going into the last big event with Usman. Sports psychology is a thing.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
Like
Yes, it
absolutely.
is.
how because Usman, if
And
you
we're
watch the
definitely
fight,
getting into that in the next conversation with the main
yeah,
event.
because
Yes.
Usman's like he I'm not saying he was flinching, but like, dude, you were winning that first fight until you caught a leg. That second
Dude.
fight, you clearly lost.
Yes.
Yeah, that hand was going up so much. Like
Mhm.
that was in his mind the whole fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big psychological thing too, because I mean, you get knocked out like that,
You got starched.
like if you get
Night.
if I can literally see the soul come out of your body, and then you come back for the next
Why you
fight,
sleep?
and yeah, why are you sleeping? And like you start seeing like your opponent, like even if it's the same guy, especially if it's the same guy, like that
I'll be right
psychological
back,
factor is
boys.
going to be there. But if you're just
Your time.
fighting someone else, as soon as you see like a leg flinch or might move a certain way that looks like it's going to come up to your head,
Yeah.
you're
I mean,
you're just out of it.
talking about, we're going back here. Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier 3.
Oh,
First
what the
round.
eye
One
pokes.
of the big things Stipe did.
Body shots.
A left hook to the body.
Yep.
It's all psychological warfare. And we talked about that, the Usman Edwards fight. If I
Yeah.
would, when we talked about it with Chase, with you Bishop, with even Matt, if I was Leon, that first round, I'm throwing a head kick.
Oh,
I'm putting
absolutely.
it right back in your mind. Psychology, sports psychology is real. It
But
really is real.
it
If he would have done that
also
off the rip, he would have been thinking about it. I mean, he was thinking about it the whole time, but if he would
Oh,
have just
absolutely.
if he would have led with a head kick that whole entire fight, no matter what he did, even if he was just gonna throw a jab or he was setting up like a combo with his hands, he would have been thinking, all right, that foot's gonna come up any second now.
And also on the flip side of that, the confidence
Yeah.
that Edwards gets in turn, because you got to think. So we're talking about Usman feeling nervous about the head kick, but on the flip side, it's like now Edwards has a newfound confidence in his abilities. He's like, look, I withstood all of those rounds with Usman. I was losing it, but I stayed there, and I was even in the final minute of the final round, beaten down and tired, still able to land that shot to win the fight. That brings so much confidence to a fighter. And then when you have confidence, when you have true belief in your abilities, you just perform better. You
Oh
do.
yeah.
And you
Yeah.
saw that, and we just saw that in when they finished up the trilogy.
I
Like
mean,
that fight,
just seeing a
Edwards
guy,
looked good.
just
Look
seeing a
great.
guy like get nervous about any kind of movement you make with your body, that has to that does
And,
something to you. I mean,
and I don't
sometimes people
know.
get a little too overconfident with it, I would say, because
Yeah,
then they start throwing that same thing they're throwing on everybody else. But there's gonna be that one time that it ain't gonna work, and someone who's been watching you do it for your last 4 or 5 fights, like, all
yeah.
right, so I know when you throw this jab, right hook, and then maybe like an uppercut, your leg's gonna come up or something like that. It's gonna be a fake uppercut. You're just gonna kick me in the head or something like that.
No matter how good of a fighter you are, you're gonna show some tendencies, and then if people study you enough, it's gonna come up. But
And we've seen it
um,
all the time. I mean, we just watched it happen with Shevchenko.
and I don't know what, like I said, I don't know what it's like to be knocked out. I don't know what it's like to be hurt. So I can't speak on the mindset of what Usman would be feeling after getting knocked out, because for the years I've trained, fortunately it's never happened to me. But I can't really say like the mindset that has on a fighter. But
Well, here's
after, well, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
tomorrow, right after you clock in, Pat's gonna knock you out. And listen,
Shit.
every day after
Listen,
that,
I'm
every
knocked
time you
out
clock
every
in,
day. What
you're
you
gonna be
talking about?
looking.
And then I'm gonna slide in like a WWE ref and go 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Why you sleeping?
Why are you
But like,
sleeping?
if like it's an actual analogy. I was making a joke, but like if you're clocking in, someone knocks you out every day after that. When you clock in, you're gonna be looking over your shoulder, or
That makes
something.
sense.
So as a fighter, and I'm not saying, like I said, he didn't flinch at all, but every time Edwards kind of moved his leg, Usman was like, "Oh, hold on." Like, whoa, fuck.
He was more conscientious of that movement.
Yeah, and then to the
Right.
point of Bishop's point of Edwards, or sorry, Chase's point of Edwards having this new confidence, dude. That's what happened to Nate. Nate beat Connor, and he got like this because I love the Diaz brothers.
It was
They were never prize fighters, dude.
when
No, they
Nate
weren't.
beat. That was his honest to God, that was the coming out party, the true coming out party
Yeah.
of Nate Diaz. He had great fights before that. Great fights.
Oh, yeah, he did.
I love, dude.
and
Him
he-
versus Kurt Pellegrino. Him versus
Yeah.
the Irish grenade. I can't remember his real name, but his name was like the Irish Gangster or something. Mark something. But
Yeah, I remember when he fought, Josh Thompson. I mean, when Thompson beat him, remember when he beat that? I remember a lot of great fights.
yeah,
with Nate Diaz.
yeah,
But
just
when
to correct
he
you,
beat Connor,
Nate's never lost a fight.
Yeah, no, he just needed more.
Yeah.
like Chael Sonnen, undefeated.
Chael Sonnen, never lost a round. Undisputed, undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, he might have some numbers in the losing column, but I'm just
No,
gonna
it's
say,
typo.
yeah, it's a typo. And Chael
It's a
Sonnen
typo.
didn't think if he tapped out, that was the end of the fight. He just
He
thought they
thought
got up and started
you just lost that round, not
again.
the whole fight.
Right. But,
Tapping
but-
out's just the reset button.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
just
what's
it
the,
just turns the clock back.
so you had the prelim, the main of the prelim.
So the first fight on the main card is Raul Rosas Jr. versus Chris Rodriguez.
That's
It's the
overrated.
18-year-old kid
Let
who-
Bishop go
who
first.
used the bonus money to buy his mom a new van. This is the guy. Bishop, I want you to lead this one off.
Yeah, let Bishop go first.
Come on.
All right. So like recently, I kind of haven't like really been watching like too many like fight cards or anything like that. And then I heard about this Raul Rosas Jr. dude. I'm like, okay.
That's why we're called the Casual MMA podcast.
Yeah,
So
we actually don't
my
know anything.
take, yeah, I don't know shit. I thought we were talking about baseball the whole time. So like my thing with Raul, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from him,
But you're gonna take something away from him.
No, I mean, I don't know.
Let's
We'll
go.
find out. So I started hearing about him. I seen like one post by the UFC or MMA fighting, whatever it was. This 17-year-old kid was like blowing up. I was like, all right, so who's this guy? And then next thing I know, he's like in the UFC. He's like the face of the UFC all of a sudden. And I just feel like, because I've seen this with like many different sports, like, you know, they get this one guy who's like coming out of college for like football, and he's supposed to be the next whoever, and then he gets into the NFL. His first year is shit because he's on a shit team, then they just throw him away. So I don't want this to happen to this kid, because like he got like this big hype because he's a 17-year-old kid. He's a good fighter. He came into the UFC, his first fight, he won it. I'm not sure how dominant he was because I didn't see it, but I mean, from what I heard, it was like a dominant fight.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel like the biggest hype around this kid is the fact that he was 17 years old, coming into the UFC, one of the youngest UFC fighters and the youngest UFC fighter to win a fight.
I think the youngest.
Yeah, he was. He is.
I just feel like the hype around it is the fact that he is the youngest fighter to get in the UFC and the youngest fighter to win. That because every time I seen something about him, that was like the main bullet point of the article, the little short Instagram post by the UFC, MMAfighting.com, or anyone, is that this kid is 17 years old and he's coming into the UFC and he's gonna whoop someone's ass or something.
But
So-
what you gotta, but the thing is, from the UFC's end, you gotta think that is marketable.
Yeah,
That's
that's-
marketable.
That's huge
I got some
marketing.
big takes on this
But-
one. I got
but-
some real interesting takes on this one.
But like I said, I don't want what I have seen like many times. Like we'll take Manti Te'o. He was gonna come into the NFL and be big name, and I don't even know where the hell he is now.
Yeah. So before we
He's
get
with his girlfriend.
Deshaun Kaiser.
He's still
I
looking
don't know
for his
where
girlfriend.
Yeah.
He's still
I
looking for
don't-
his girlfriend.
I don't know where Deshaun Kaiser is anymore. Some of these other guys who have come into the NBA, I'm not really sure about the MLB, but NBA and NFL, they were supposed to be the next
Right.
big whoever, and then they have a bad year, because that's a big adjustment coming from college to professionals, and especially if you get on a
Yes, the
team
game's
that's
And
if you get on a team that has, say, a brand new coach, or a coach that doesn't give a shit because he's riding his contract out and he's gonna ride off in the sunset, go to a big name team and be like an offensive coordinator or something. I don't want to see this happen to this kid.
So
Because,
basically, you're saying you don't want to see another young prospect get washed out.
Yeah, because I mean,
But to see
Yeah.
that,
like from like a human standpoint, I've seen like great players who have turned to nothing and their lives are just complete shit now.
So-
And I don't want to see this kid feel like he's on top of the world right now,
Yeah.
just because of how everyone's like, marketing him and giving him all this publication. I
It's a lot
don't
of
want to see that
pressure.
it happen. It is. It's a lot of pressure.
lot
I
of
mean,
pressure.
and
Yeah,
I'll give all the props in the
So-
world to him. He came in first
But-
fight, fucked the guy up.
yeah. Before we get into
Now,
Pat's hot takes, though,
Yeah, go ahead,
Bishop,
Matt.
yeah, before we get into Pat's hot takes, real quick though, Bishop, what do you think about Sage Northcutt and Paige Van Zant?
Paige Van
were
Zant.
those were two young stars. Like
I'm not
couldn't
gonna
even be
lie
on
to
the
you.
Ultimate Fighter, but they got
I'm not-
pushed and they had all right success.
success.
All
Yeah.
right careers.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I forgot about Sage Northcutt, but I seen
a lot of people have.
I seen he's like
fights
coming
soon.
back, right?
Yeah, he's fighting soon. He had like 8 breaks in his
Is
face.
he
or
really
something.
good for him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's coming back.
I like
Uh,
Paige Van
I got
Zant.
You see, like Sage Northcutt, I thought he was a good
Yeah.
fighter. I mean,
For Sage.
He's not
whatever.
bad. He's not
Yeah,
bad
he's
at
not
all.
bad.
But
I
like
mean,
you
he's
said,
better. He's
sometimes-
better than most. He's better than most. Like,
Sometimes
some
kids in
people they
those
push.
sometimes kids in those positions can get pushed into fights they're just not ready for.
Yeah, and like
And that, well, that could be one of Pat's things he's going to touch on. Whether he
Oh,
feels like
I have a
that's
hell of a hot take on this.
so. Yeah, I'll sit back and
Yeah,
I'll listen
so-
to you guys.
Go ahead,
you want
Pat.
me to
Listen.
go on about Paige Van Zandt or no?
So
Don't
We
go
talk
on.
about her all day.
let's talk about this. The kid is 18 years old. You think is he 8? He's turning
Yeah,
19.
No,
No, yeah,
he's
he's
18
he's
now.
eight.
18.
He's 18.
We looked it up
Yeah.
earlier.
He's 18. He's 18 years old. His body, as an 18-year-old fighter, he's not even close to maturity. Not even close.
No.
You're talking this kid. He's a kid. He is a kid battling men who are 26 to 30 years old.
Yeah.
His body isn't mature. I mean, this is don't get me wrong. For what he's doing is great. Now, Bishop brought up some points about the UFC pushing this kid. What I don't want to see with him is they push him too fast.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should take the Sean O'Malley approach. Sean O'Malley for fight after fight. Yeah, he fought Cheeto Vera early. Fought Cheeto Vera. If you remember, though, they brought Sugar Sean on very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Very slowly. Yeah, he was making money. He was fighting guys that, he wasn't fighting the big names. So all of a sudden, they paid him, and now it's time to perform.
Right.
This kid with Rosas, I think that's the approach he should take.
You have to mature and learn.
Yes, he's 18 years old. He's 18 years old. Your level of strength and maturity in your body from, I was in far better shape when I was 18. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, all of us were.
However, my
Speak for
body is far
yourself.
more stronger
That's fine.
at 30 than it was when I was 18.
But here,
It's
to
a big thing. I just hope this kid is special. He does have special on him. My thing is the UFC, I think, needs to slow down a little bit. Even himself, back off a little bit. I like the Sean O'Malley approach. Don't fight the real big names because this kid gets another win or two. He's in he's in bantamweight. That's that 135-pound division.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
There's killers.
Oh yeah.
That might be the best division in MMA.
Yeah.
Do not throw that kid in there.
To your point, though. Oh, go ahead, Bishop.
What's up?
There's something that Pat said. I want to piggyback on that. With Sean O'Malley. I've always liked Sean O'Malley, and I mean, yeah, people don't like him, but that's whatever. I don't give a fuck about that.
Sean's a fighter.
He's a fighter. And the other thing about Sean is he might not seem like it, but he's extremely humble as a person. And I mean, he even said it himself. He's like, I got my whatever contract it is, and I got so many more fights on it. Why would I want to go and fight a big name guy and make, let's say, what, 25
Why would you want to
grand?
fight a main event guy for prelim money?
Yeah. Why would you want to go and do that? So I hope that this Rosas dude does the same thing. But the main thing with him is he needs to stay.
Contract.
Yeah.
When Uncle Dana gives you that big contract, now it's time. You're fighting the big boys.
Yeah.
With Rosas in that division, there are some killers in there. He's 18 years old. I just look at it and say, don't bring him this fast.
The biggest thing with Rosas is Rosas needs to stay humble and just not let the publicity and everything.
Keep working.
Yeah, he can't let everything get to his head. I mean, I think he'll stay humble because
there's a lot of learning to do here.
With his first paycheck, I mean, he went out and bought his mom a van, and I think
that was awesome.
He wasn't thinking about himself. But
he's gonna fight guys. He's 18. He's gonna fight guys who are 8 years older than him. When guys have been fighting since they were 20, 21 years old, when he was in elementary school.
Actually, I want to talk about that. We'll talk about that more in a second. Matt, what did you want to add to this?
So I just think we're all friends and fans. But to go off what Pat said, just to ask Pat a question. Yeah, I agree with you. He needs to mature and learn. Take fights easy. But how many, and we're going to call them squash matches because that's what they are. You're fighting local fighters. How many of those do you think young guys need before you got to start fighting top 15? Especially at 135.
How many did Sean O'Malley have? How many Sean O'Malley had?
I think he went 6-0 before Cheeto Vera.
6-0.
Well, that's
that
two
number,
Dana White contender fights, though.
That number can be tentative based on how the performance is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Let's be honest. You put him in there. You put him in there. That Rosas in there with any guy in the top 10 right now. They're gonna hurt that kid. They're gonna hurt him. But if you think about, you bring him on slowly. Is a loss necessarily a bad thing? No, it wasn't. I know it was different, but it wasn't bad for Sean O'Malley. So when I look at him, I say bring him along slowly. I understand your squash match. I understand, but at the same time, if this guy is a potential star, and he is, there's star power written all over this
Oh, yeah.
guy.
Oh yeah.
I also think
If he fizzles out, then what?
I also
Yeah.
think losses are storytelling. So like Connor
I-
lost
yeah.
to Nate.
Yeah.
That made the second fight sell a lot more than it would have.
Yep.
Right.
So if Rosen loses to a top 15
Christian
guy right now,
Christian
give him
Rodriguez is his fight this Saturday.
yeah, I mean, hey, that
And
guy's
that's the other
eight.
thing.
That
No
guy's
one's
8 and
talking about
1.
this guy.
Yeah.
That guy's 8
He
and
ain't
1.
no joke.
That's a lot of maturity.
Rodriguez could. I mean, yeah.
Now,
No
so
one's talking about him.
this is what I wanted to. Well, that's what I want to talk about now. Is so Rodriguez, because Pat was saying he's gonna fight guys a lot older. Rodriguez is 7 years older. Now,
Yeah.
as far as experience in MMA goes, Rodriguez 9 fights, 8 and 1. Rosas 7 fights, 7 and 0. And Rodriguez has only had 2 UFC fights, so it's not like he's truly more experienced than Rosas is necessarily, but it's I'm interested to see. So I was talking to Matt about this before we went live on the podcast. So Rodriguez, he is a wrestling jiu-jitsu guy. Out of his
Yes.
8 wins, he's got 3 TKOs, 1 decision, 4 submissions. And out of Rosas, his wins are I think he has 5 submissions. So he likes to take the fight to the ground. So could this be a fight where the match and skill leaves it to a stand-up battle, like it did for Colby and Usman? So this is a fight where I'm interested to see if
Maya
Rodriguez.
Askren.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that shouldn't have been a stand-up fight.
Oh my God! Don't even mention that fight.
So I'll say to Chase's point,
but go ahead. Yeah.
Like I talked about earlier with Kelvin Gastelum and Justin Gaethje, when those fights happen, when we're so equally matched, like ground versus ground, and we're even, that's when you gotta start listening to your corner. I think the guy that listens to his corner
Yes.
better wins Saturday night. I like the young guys. I'm a big fan of pushing young guys. I am gonna take Rodriguez.
Ooh.
He's going Rodriguez over Rosas.
Maturity, man. I'll take maturity over young because
You know what? I understand that 100%.
Because it's gonna be the card. And I love Cody Garbrandt, but it's gonna be Rose is gonna get smoked with something. He's gonna get hit with a left or a right, and that 18-year-old brain, we've all been 18 before, is gonna click in, and I'm gonna take maturity.
Chase, who you got?
Now, look, I might be.
Mind
picking
everybody listening, Chase is young.
23. I'll be 24 in a month. But yeah, I'm young. But
Yeah.
or look, you're all right. Bishop's what, like 26,
I'm 25.
And good looking.
25. And how old are you, Matt?
I just turned 29.
All right,
It's
well,
hard to believe. You look like you're 17.
Oh my God.
Damn, I'm the old man in here.
And you look, yeah, and you look it. There's not even a compliment behind
you're-
it.
Yeah.
looking like Stone Cold. What?
Yeah, man.
What?
But all right, back
I
to
wish there was a filter I could find for the stream to put Stone Cold over Pat, but Chase,
But-
go with your pick.
So I am going to go with Rosas. I think that look, I understand the maturity. The Rodriguez is older. He doesn't have that much more fight experience. Rosas has already fought. He fought on the main card already. His last fight.
Yeah.
He's fought in front of a big crowd. He performed. I understand that he's not getting big time opponents yet, as he shouldn't. But I think
Right.
this kid. I think this kid has I think he's coachable. I think he has the mentality to get the job done. And I'm going with Rosas. I could see him. I'm going to say he gets a decision win on Saturday night, but that's who I'm rolling with for Saturday. I think he gets the job done. I think the hype train stays live, it stays on the tracks, and he moves on to the next one.
I'll make this quick. I'm gonna go Rosas as well. I think he gets it done. I think it'll be a good fight. I think Rodriguez is gonna be game. I really do. But I'm gonna go with Rosas for now. I really hope that they bring him on slow. I just don't want to see the young man, be forced into a fight with someone that's way more experienced, and it will kick in. But I will go with Rosas on this time. But it's going to be a good fight. He's not going to steamroll Rodriguez.
Yeah. No, I don't think so either.
Bishop?
I think as long as Rosas goes in there and he doesn't let all the hype get to his head and he stays focused on the game plan and listens to his coaches, which I know sometimes it's hard for people to do that, I think he'll get the job done. As long as he stays technical and doesn't try to, let that 18-year-old brain go out and like, hey man, why don't you do like a spinning back fist or something? See what happens. As long as he sticks to the game plan, I think he'll be good.
All right.
We're gonna jump into the next one, but I want to go first so bad.
All right, Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez. Go for it.
I love Rob Font, dog. I love Rob Font so much.
I do too.
I got Rob Font.
I do too.
and there's no statistics behind it. It's just completely biased.
Hey, that's fair.
There's statistics behind Rob Font. Ain't no joke, dude.
No.
Rob Font can go.
I like Adrian Yanez. Good record. Taking Rob Font. Love Rob Font, dude.
I'm gonna go last on this one. So go ahead. I'm gonna go last on this one.
You know what? I'm gonna go. I'm taking Rob Font. I think Rob Font is damn good. And you're talking about the bantamweight division. We're talking about Rosas and everything. When Rob Font is on, and when I mean on, he's top 5 in that division. I think so.
Yeah.
There are some really interesting fights I would love to see Rob Font in. I think it's back in the win column. I'm excited to see some big fights with him. I'm going Rob Font.
All right, Bish, what are you thinking?
Rob Font.
Quit.
Just straight up.
Easy.
All right.
The next one,
right, so
I'm very interested.
I'm going to be the only man out on this one. So, look, I like Rob Font a lot. I do. Coming off 2 losses against Aldo and Marlon Vera, he beat his last 2 biggest wins were he beat Marlon Moraes, good win. Beat Cody Garbrandt,
right?
Which at this point in time, no disrespect to Cody Garbrandt, I am a fan. He's another Ohio guy.
Love Cody.
Doesn't mean much. Does not mean much.
Cody?
Does not mean much at this point in his
Not
time.
the same Garbrandt.
Now Adrian Yanez, he's on a big win streak. This is his first true test of what his abilities are. He's on the like uprising star, and
this could propel him. Big fight.
I think this is Adrian Yanez's moment where he becomes a contender. I think this is his fight. I'm going with Yanez.
It makes you tough too when you know this fight could do it. That makes you tough. You come in with a different mindset.
Yeah, like this is Rob Font. He's fought top 5 guys. He's fought top 3 guys, and he's game all the time. I think Yanez, this is his moment where he's like, I'm here for a title. I'm here to be a contender, and I think this Saturday he goes out there. I think he gets the win.
All right, co-main.
I like it.
I'm kicking off the co-main. Gilbert.
Well, we don't want to skip over Kevin Holland.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I'm looking. Yeah, let's say I'm looking at the card. I didn't even see Kevin Holland. Oh, Santiago.
Santiago Ponzinibbio, or I think that's how you say his name.
Ponzinibbio.
Ponzinibbio.
What are we thinking?
I'm gonna roll with Holland. I'm gonna roll with Kevin Holland.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the loudmouth.
I'm gonna go with Santiago.
I'm going my gut here. Ooh.
I am. I'm gonna go Santiago, dude.
Chaz.
It's just honestly, this is a coin flip for me. But you know what? I want to see Kevin Holland get it done. I'm kind of going with my heart here. I want to see Kevin Holland get the win. Honestly, Kevin Holland, if he shut up and just just buckled down, he would be even better. And he's already a good fighter.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, he stopped talking as much there.
Like watching him and Wonder Boy, I'm like, just shut up and fight. So, and Wonder Boy, another one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's everybody loves Wonder Boy. Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to the co-main. Who wants to lead it off?
Well, Matt, go ahead. I want you to lead this one off.
All right. So I'm the jiu-jitsu guy. I love Gilbert all week.
Yeah.
Well, most of the week I've been telling you guys I think Gilbert's going to do it.
Oh yeah.
I watched some old fights. Guys, I'm taking Masvidal.
Are you really?
Ooh, you're going.
I am, dude. I'm
Three
taking.
Are you
gets it
taking
done.
Masvidal?
I am. I switched
Wow.
up. I switched up on everybody. I really wanted Gilbert to do it. I just think Masvidal, he's been in there in like big fights that shouldn't have been big.
Wars.
The
He's harder
BMF
to
the
he's
BMF
harder to
belt
take
was
down than people
stupid.
realize.
Yeah,
He's crafty.
he's fought the champ twice, although one of those was brutal. But that
3-piece Minnesota.
So I'm gonna
Hey, tell you what.
I'm taking Masvidal, man. I think Masvidal gets it done. I don't think he gets it done violently. I think we're looking. I think we're looking at a 5-round decision or a 3-round decision.
Now
Bishop,
looking
who you got?
at the odds. Hang on, real quick. Masvidal plus 380 underdog on that fight.
Huge underdog. Huge.
So just keep that in mind for all you bettors out there. All right, Bish.
Bishop, you got?
I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna go with Masvidal.
Bitch just
Wow.
switched up too.
Wow.
Well, I was never for Burns, but I mean, I wasn't for Burns. I like George Masvidal. I mean,
All right.
like to me, he's like one of my favorite fighters, and I used to love watching him just go in there and fuck shit up and seeing all his street fights and stuff. But I will say, the one thing that kind of is like making me on the fence about my decision was the Covington fight, because like to me, well, you guys know how I feel about the build up to that fight. I felt like it was kind of childish, but like to me, he didn't look like he didn't look like George Masvidal. Like he just looked like he didn't want to be there.
Did he look like a Jorge Masvidal?
Huh?
Did he look like a Jorge Masvidal?
Hip hip. Jorge.
But it just seemed like he didn't want to be there, and he was just coming off the brutal knockout.
Yeah.
But
Ooh,
if he shows up to this fight, which I hope he does, because he did say if he loses this fight, he's more than likely going to retire. But if he wins, he's going to start that title run again. And I'm
if he wins,
really excited to see if he wins this fight and he goes to the title. Yeah, I want to see the 2-piece soda. I want to see that build up to that fight.
That's some build up.
I want to see the build up to that fucking fight.
Pat, who you got?
I'm sticking with my gut. I picked it from the very beginning. I think this is a very bad fight for George Masvidal. I'm going Gilbert Burns.
Yeah,
I think this, all in all, in every aspect,
Casuals.
Masvidal is a great boxer. He's a good boxer, good striker. I tell you what, though, so's Burns.
Oh,
Burns has dynamite in his hands, and if he gets this fight to the ground, this is a whole different fight from Masvidal. I'm not, but I will say this: Burns got to be careful very early. Masvidal is going to charge him. Masvidal is going to go for the quick knockout. And if he catches Burns, he can hurt him.
Oh, yeah.
All in all, when I look at this fight, styles make fights. I look at their styles. I think all in all, this is a bad night in the office for George Masvidal. I'm going Gilbert Burns. I think Burns finishes him.
All right. I'm going Burns too. And here's the thing. Gilbert Burns will take the center of the octagon. He will push the pace. He will be first. He'll be aggressive. Now, Masvidal is the type of fighter where he does not most fighters, like I said this earlier in the podcast, he doesn't fight well moving backwards. If you remember watching the Diaz fight, even though he won that fight due to the doctor stoppage, every single time Diaz had him moving backwards, Nate landed. He caught him every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And Masvidal, his knockouts are when he's literally rushing forward. Darren Till exploded forward, hit him with the left. Askren literally leapt forward, hit him with the knee. When he knocked down Diaz, he was rushing forward, hit him with that wild combo, and then head kick as he was falling down. Like, all of these things...
Which is crazy, Diaz won that.
Never lost. It's crazy when Masvidal is moving forward, when he's the aggressor, when he's pushing the pace, when he's in the center of the octagon, he has success like most fighters do. But I don't think that he's going to be able to push Burns back as much. And if he does rush in, he's going to get taken down, and he's not going to be able to get back up like what Burns did to Wonderboy.
Or what Burns did to Usman. Remember, he had Usman rocked.
He had that fight won. He had that fight won.
Burns has the dynamite in that right hand.
Yeah.
It's dynamite.
And here's the thing. Another thing is in the clinch exchanges, and when they were tied up, Masvidal was able to turn Nate into the fence every time.
Mhm.
He's not going to be able to do that with Burns.
Yeah,
I just
Burns
don't.
Tough. He's strong.
Other than,
Yep.
and I'm not saying Masvidal can't do it. If Masvidal catches him, he can catch him. Anybody who has a puncher's chance. But I think in every facet of the fight, I just think Burns is better. So I think Burns gets the win. I don't see him getting. I see Burns. Honestly, I could see him getting like a rear naked choke. To be honest with you, I think he taps Masvidal out.
I think he stuns him on the feet. He drops him, and like you said, Chad, I think Burns, one way or another, Burns gets the finish. I see Burns getting the finish.
So now
with that Bishop, take us into the main event. Bishop.
the main
Who's
event.
Fighting?
What's that?
Who's fighting, Bishop? Who's fighting in the main event?
It sounded like you guys cut out. My bad.
Oh no. We're waiting on you. We have no idea.
We don't know.
The main event of UFC 287, I believe, is Ronald McDonald versus the Burger King.
I'm gonna take
It's
Burger King.
Grimace.
No, it's Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira.
Dude. All right, Bish. You take the reins on this one.
Well, I really want to see Israel Adesanya win.
Okay.
I mean, like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen memes about, like, I mean, it's like it just seems like it's a thing. Like Alex Pereira just follows this guy around everywhere. I've seen memes like, oh, Israel Adesanya goes and starts playing golf, and then Alex Pereira follows him and starts beating him or whatever. I just want to see. I want to see Israel Adesanya get it done because I like Adesanya. I like him a lot. And I mean, it didn't seem like it when he fought. I can't remember his name. When he did the light heavyweight fight,
Blachowicz.
Blachowicz. When he fought Blachowicz, it didn't seem like I liked him just because I like Blachowicz a lot.
Polish power. I root for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. And plus, that guy. I mean, he almost lost his career because he was getting fucked up for a while. He was like on a 6 losing streak or something.
Yeah.
He comes back and becomes a champion. How can I root for the guy?
Yep.
Polish power. Gotta love him.
But I'm gonna have to roll with Adesanya on this one. I mean, Alex Pereira, yeah, he's a dangerous fighter, and all the clips I've seen of him before. I mean, the guy is just he's
massive. He's massive.
He's huge for a middleweight.
He could fight a heavyweight, honest to God.
But like you guys said, he had that fight won. He just got caught.
Yeah.
And I think Israel Adesanya will. I mean, he got back in the lab. You know, he's gonna right his wrongs, and I'm hoping he's gonna win.
So
I mean,
how do you see this fight
Matt,
playing out?
I wanna
Do
hear.
you see Izzy by decision? Do you think he gets a finish? What do you think, Bish?
well, I mean, it's not a non-known fact that Izzy's been kind of playing it. I can't really say playing it safe, but he's been being more technical. His past few fights,
he's slow.
Yeah. I mean, he's not being all like, you know, how he was before. And everyone's kind of hating on him for that. But the guy's the champ, and he's trying to show you why he's the champ. Yeah,
He's not the champ anymore.
but I mean, but he could have been doing all those things he used to do. But I think he's gonna stay calculated. He's gonna keep it a technical fight and keep his distance. And
So you think he outpoints him?
I think he's gonna outpoint him. I don't see a knockout unless he does some crazy shit and knocks this guy out, which I'd love to see. And I think everybody will
Very
like to see because who doesn't like a good knockout?
Everybody does.
I want to hear you.
I'm gonna.
Who's going next?
I think he's gonna go to decision and just stay calculated.
I got you.
I'm gonna go with Bishop's decision. I'm gonna take Izzy. I think Izzy finishes this fight, and we go into the highest paying middleweight fight ever in the UFC. I think Izzy takes him out in the 4th.
Okay.
I'm damn sure. I'm damn sure Izzy's gonna utilize his wrestling and his really good jiu-jitsu, and he's gonna choke him out or something. I think Izzy takes this one. I think we go into a third match, the rubber match. I think it sells big. On that same card, we're gonna co-main event Gaethje and Poirier too.
I would love that, dude.
I think
the matchmaker Matt.
I think
like
that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna sell it. They're gonna sell, dude. It's gonna sell. So for the fight Saturday, I'm taking Izzy by finish.
Dude, I kind of wish it happens now. Now look, Me and Pat have had conversations about this. I think we talked about it today, actually.
Mhm.
I think Pereira knocks him out again. I just see Pereira, that left hook is one of the most dangerous things in all of mixed martial arts for him specifically. Now, Pereira closed the distance, got Izzy against the cage, and when he had him when he was pressing him against the cage, controlling the center of the octagon, he had success. He landed, and like I've said this like 5 times this podcast alone. If you control the center and you're pushing forward, you're going to have success. I think Pereira, I think he's more aggressive early. I think he finds a home for that left hook, and I think as far as we talked about sports psychology and whatnot, is Israel Adesanya too far gone with this guy to really get the job done?
No.
Now,
Do you believe in sports kryptonite though?
if sports kryptonite, then Pereira is
Baba
kryptonite.
Yaga.
Yeah.
He's that
Bogeyman.
boogeyman. He's John Wick. So I think Pereira gets the finish. Honestly, I'll go 3rd round. Actually, I was thinking earlier. I'm going to go 2nd round KO for Pereira. I think he gets it done. I think he's more aggressive early. I think he controls the center, pushes the pace, and I think he gets the job done.
Pat, it's all on you.
I 100% agree with Chase. I think Pereira finishes Adesanya early this time. If you watch the 3 fights, you go from the first kickboxing match, which honestly, if you go back and watch that fight, Adesanya,
He was winning
Adesanya was winning that fight.
all 3 of them.
In the first fight, it went to decision. You could honestly say Adesanya won that fight. The second fight, Adesanya was winning again.
He hurt him in that fight too.
Hurt him in the second fight until boom, the big left hand.
Same thing happened in the third fight.
Adesanya was winning the fight. The one thing I will take away from the first MMA fight between the two, Adesanya was doing great with distance. Pereira kept throwing that left hand, and he actually wasn't doing good with it. The beginning, or right before the 5th round started, Pereira's corner told him, "You're losing the fight. Empty the tank." When he emptied the tank and pressured Adesanya, Izzy had no answer. This guy, Pereira, how much you think Pereira outweighs Adesanya? I think he outweighs him by 25 pounds.
Yeah, but I would say on fight night, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I think he outweighs him by 25 pounds. If you look at their striking, I think Adesanya is the better technical striker, but it's not by much. There's nothing that Adesanya can do that's gonna shock Pereira. There's nothing Pereira's gonna do that's gonna shock Adesanya. That power is the difference maker.
Yeah.
Also, you look into the fight what Pereira's doing in training camp. Pereira has Glover Teixeira with him, which is a huge thing for him. And Chuck Liddell. Brought in Chuck Liddell for a little bit for things. Also, it's kind of cool Pereira has the mohawk now.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. But if you break down this fight and look at this fight, I think Pereira has the confidence. I think he goes in there early. I say round 2, he's going to knock Adesanya out. This is Adesanya's kryptonite. It just really is. And you want to talk about sports psychology. He lost to this guy 3 times.
So we're going to go.
And it brings up a very interesting question, though. Let's say I predict Pereira gets it done. What does Izzy Adesanya do? Adesanya already talked. I read a thing today. He's talking about going up to 205. Here's the problem. So is Pereira. Pereira's not going to make 185 much longer.
No.
He can't make 185 much longer.
They'll weigh each other out. It'll be, and honestly, if Pereira's going to have the better success at 205.
Yes.
I don't see Izzy having that.
I think he could fight at heavyweight.
Oh, Glover Teixeira said he could fight at heavyweight. He said that like last week.
He could fight at heavyweight anytime he wanted.
The power of Pereira. It's a different. It's almost Ngannou-esque. For 185.
For that weight class.
Different. I think Adesanya is the better technical striker, but I think Pereira with that power, he's going to pressure Adesanya. He's going to get him against the cage. I think Pereira's been really working his grappling and his takedown defense. And Izzy doesn't have that great of a wrestling game to begin with.
Yeah.
So
The
on
problem
the feet,
the problem both those guys are having right now with moving weight classes or moving divisions is like really when's my contract gonna hit? Where am I gonna sign?
right?
So
Yeah.
no. So we're split down the middle. Me and Bishop we're taking Adesanya. You two are gonna take Pereira.
We're
Both of
going
you guys
Pereira.
taking Pereira by early finish too, which is weird.
I think we both predicted second round KOs.
Everybody has a boogeyman. Everyone has that one guy that is just no
Everybody's
matter
got
what.
their John Wick.
Paulie and Frazier. Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez. There's always that one guy that just won't go away. And Pereira is Adesanya's boogeyman.
Just like I said earlier.
Adesanya says he wants this fight. I honestly think Adesanya should have took a fight before getting this rematch. I think he's going into it too early.
Oh,
That's true, but from the UFC's end, you gotta run it back.
Yeah, it's too much money.
You have to, but at the same time, I think he's rushing this too much.
Could be. We'll find out.
This guy, I think Pereira's in his head, and it's just, what do you do? In all honesty, this is the 4th time I'm fighting this guy. Second time in MMA, he's knocked me out twice.
So we'll end the podcast. We've got our predictions in. Obviously, everybody's gonna be watching Saturday.
Yeah,
we'll go live. Record the next episode. Go live with the reactions. But at this moment, just your prediction, no statement behind it. I'm taking Adesanya 3rd round submission. Bishop, what are you doing?
Ooh.
Ballsy.
I'm taking Adesanya by decision.
Pat?
I'm taking Alex Pereira, 2nd round TKO.
Same as Pat. But here's the deal. I'm not going KO or TKO. I think he flatlines him. I think he knocks him out cold.
2nd round KO.
Wow.
All right. Well, then
I will say this: Adesanya has a chin.
Get your bets in, everybody.
Have a chin.
Get your bets in.
So all right, before we go, hang on.
Go ahead.
Just for those of you that want to know, Pereira plus 115 dog, Izzy minus 135 favorite.
He's a dog.
It's
wow.
It's almost dead even. So like as far as if you're looking to bet underdogs, there's not much money to be made on that fight. For my money, honestly, if you're looking to bet Ponzibio plus 210 over Holland, if you're looking for a good dog, that's probably the best one.
Oh yeah.
What's Masvidal Burns?
Masvidal plus 380, Burns minus 500. So for those bettors out there, those are the numbers.
That could be the one. At least I'm picking Gilbert Burns, but if there's the one upset on this card that I could honestly see happening, it's that one. I can see Masvidal landing.
Was I outcasted? Was I the only one that took Masvidal, or did Bishop?
No,
take Masvidal?
Bishop did too.
Bishop took Masvidal.
Okay, good.
But
all right, so me and Bishop for Adesanya, you two for Pereira,
yeah.
And Saturday, today's Wednesday, so Saturday's in a couple days, and then we have Easter Sunday. So hopefully next Wednesday we'll get the reactions.
We'll be on.
So appreciate
I enjoyed
the time, and this was the first episode of the Casual MMA podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and that's it.
Not brought to you by anything yet, but hopefully brought to you by Snickers soon.
Hopefully,
or PBR.
Or PBR.
Hopefully brought to you by PBR.
I'm pulling for the PBR.
Best light.